In this video, I'm going to be working on 2.4 example 3. On the left side, I have that set of checklists that you guys should have written on somewhere else in your book. If not, feel free to write it down again, but I am going to be referencing that. All right, so step number 1, let's solve this. Now, here is where things are a little bit different. We're going to have to implement the step 1 of simplify both sides. And the reason why is because typically what we've had is no like terms. Nothing really combines, or maybe if you did, you just had 1 or 2. But one of the things that you must do is get rid of any parentheses before you begin. Now, there are going to be very special certain times when that's not necessary, and I'm going to show you what those signs look like. But it works no matter what. So what I'm going to do here is before we begin is you have to distribute. And we learned about distribution before. Let's go ahead and go over it again. And that is simply when you multiply everything inside the parentheses with what's on the outside of the parentheses. I typically always just start on the left side. You don't have to, but that's what I do. So you would do 7n, and 7 times n is 7n. That's where this comes from. And then 7 times -1 is -7. 7n minus 7 have no like terms, so we are done with the left side. Go to the right side. The right side here has -2 times 3. -2 times 3 is -6. -2 times n is -2n. Remember, when you're multiplying a number with a variable that looks like that with just a coefficient of 1, it's just that number and the variable now combined. -6 minus 2n has no like terms, so that means the simplify portion is now done. Step number 2 is move the variables. And remember, I have that extra thing to try to keep it positive. Do you have to do that? No. But again, watch your negatives if you choose not to do it that way. So for me, I'm going to keep that -2n. I'm going to move it over because that is smaller than 7. So -2 is the smaller coefficient. How do I move a -2 over? We add. So add 2n plus 2n. And I don't like how the book has it written out like this instead of next to 7n. So I'm actually going to rewrite that and do it properly. I'm going to have it like this, just because that makes a little bit more sense. And then 7n plus 2n is 9n. And I didn't touch that -7, so leave it alone. Just leave it alone. And then over here, this cancels out to 0, and you're left with -6. Now I only have one variable, just like before, and now I can move on to step 3, move the numbers. How do I move the numbers? Well, I have the variable on the left side. That means everything else needs to move. So I have a -7 that needs to move and a times by 9 that needs to move. How do I move a -7? We add. Add 7, add 7. -6 plus 7 is 1. And then I'm left with 9n. How do I get rid of 9 times n? 9 divided by n. And my answer is 1 over 9 for this answer. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this one. And let's see if you guys can work this one out with me. The first thing I want to do is simplify. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify on the left. Now, a big issue I see students having, let me zoom in here, is they're like, well, it's on the outside, so I have to multiply by 8, right? No. Remember, if there is an operation between a parentheses and a number, you must do that operation, and that is not multiplication. The 7, there's nothing between here, so that indicates multiplication. Now, that 8 is not going to get multiplied by 7. Only the stuff in the parentheses gets multiplied. So that 8 is just coming along for the ride on the first step, okay? So 7n is, I'm going to do my work over here where there's space, 7n. 7 times -2 is -14. But remember, we didn't touch this plus 8, and it's not moving anywhere yet, so I'm going to do plus 8. Okay, and then I like to just keep going until I have no more like terms. If you want to just distribute at this point the other side, you can, but I'm going to focus on the left side. Okay, and then -14 plus 8, how much is that? Well, that would be -6, so I have 7n minus 6. 7n minus 6 has no more like terms, so I am done with the left side. Now I can go ahead and proceed to the right side. So 3 times n, same thing, there's no operation in between, so that's multiplication. 3n. 3 times negative 4, negative 12. And this minus 2 is on the outside. It's just hanging out there, minus 2. And then 3n has no like terms, but we do have it here and here. Negative 12 minus 2 is negative 14. All right, so here is our new function that we're looking at. Everything has been simplified and combined. And so now we have decisions to make. So step number 2, now that everything is simplified, says to move the variables. I have a 7n and a 3n. Am I going to move the 7n to the right or move the 3n to the left? That is my decision. Well, I'm going to move the 3n to the left because 3 is smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3n because that's positive. I'm going to have my line here to indicate the next step. This goes away. 7 minus 3n is 4n. I didn't touch this negative 6 yet, and I didn't touch this negative 14. We don't move them around. We leave them exactly as they are. Now, eventually, you guys are going to get fast enough where you can combine this first step that I just did right here and the next one into one smooth switcheroo. But until you get comfortable with it, we're going to go one by one. Okay, so now here's our equation. We're getting closer and closer to the problem or to the answer. So let's go ahead and finish it out. Now I only have one variable and I moved it to the left. That means everything else needs to go to the right. And so negative 6 is what I'm going to solve next. How do we get rid of a negative 6? We add 6. We add 6. I didn't touch that 4n. Bring it down. Leave it over here on the left. Equals, this goes away. Negative 14 plus 6 is negative 8. 4n equals negative 8 is our new problem. That is 4 times n. How do we get rid of the 4 times? We divide. So divide by 4, divide by 4. N equals negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. So this is my final answer. How do I know I'm done? N is alone and positive with only a 1 in front of it. I am done. Now, the last step here is to check our answer. So that's what we're going to do. We are making the claim that n equals negative 2. Now we need to back it up with facts. So let's go ahead and start here. So I have 7 times negative 2 minus 2 plus 8. Let's solve this side first. You know what? Let me actually. All right, let's go ahead and plug it into the left side first. So I'm going to have 7 times negative 2 minus 2 plus 8. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. Negative 28 plus 8 is negative 20. So that's what I need to test the other side against, okay? So let's do the other side. 3 times negative 2 minus 4 minus 2. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. So 3 times negative 6. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. And negative 18 minus 2 is negative 20. They match and I am correct. And that's how you solve it when there is distribution involved in one or both sides, and how you solve when there's other operations outside of the distribution.